Okay, so a very good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's session of Quantum Tribe. I just think it's such an exciting time that we're living in, and I know that it is also a very fearful time that we're living in. Just want to let somebody in. There you go. So the topic for this evening session is time to pivot. Because I really believe that it's almost like we're at this crossroads right now, and we have to make a decision about what we want to do going forward. So we've got to decide which way we're going to move. I think everybody's in now. I want to remind you about what attracted you to Quantum Tribe in the first place and why I started Quantum Tribe. It was to build a community of people that were all already on a path of personal development and self-mastery. We were at this point where we knew that there was more, that we could be living better lives, we could know ourselves on a much deeper level, we could reach higher and higher levels of our potential, we can become better and better versions of ourselves, right? So we all wanted that. We also wanted to become master manifestors. We wanted to be able to think of something we desire that we want to create in our lives, and then use the tools that we were learning here to go and manifest that, to bring things from the unmanifest into the manifest, into our lives. We also wanted to have a greater awareness of ourselves, becoming more aware of our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, being in the present moment, observing ourselves, our actions and our reactions to people around us, to circumstances around us, right? We wanted this. We wanted to create lives of joy and happiness. We wanted those epic relationships. We wanted to create massive success and wealth, vibrant health and well-being. And because a lot of us that started this journey of personal development felt that it could be a lonely journey sometimes, because when you're starting to learn about manifestation and all of these wonderful things, it's so exciting. But if the people closest to us are not on this journey and they don't get it and they start calling us crazy and we're dreaming and it's, like a fairy tale and things, then we feel that we're not understood and we're not being accepted as we are. And the community is here to help us because they're on the same journey. So when we need assistance in times like now, when it is easy to forget about our personal development and our goals and intention for self-mastery, then the community is here for us to reach out to say, hey, I'm struggling a bit today, I need some help. So we can remind each other of what we've been learning, right? I believe that right now is a really, really pivotal moment in time. And the reason for that is if we talk about frequency, vibration, on the one end of the scale, we have fear, which is rampant right now. And on the other end, the flip side of that is love. And it's easy for us to forget right now. So if you look at the fear side, right? Ask yourself, what words are you hearing most often right now? And I want you to add into the chat what I don't have on the screen, right? We're hearing the word virus, pandemic. We're talking about death and the numbers and the toll and economic collapse, lockdown. It's a disaster. It's an apocalypse our freedom has been taken away. So just type into the chat anything more that you're experiencing, the words that are coming through right now. Okay, Mahendra says he's at the office. All right. Our freedom is being taken away. Yes. Dave, to everyone says companionship. The companionship, I hope, is not the fear, Dave. Retrenchment coming, yes. A lot of people are afraid they're going to have to take a salary cut or even lose their jobs right now. Many small business owners are afraid of losing their businesses, right? Retrenchment, job losses. Mahendra, we're still talking about the fear side, right? Communist agendas, closing down. So that's the fear side. These are the words that are coming through. If we look on the opposite side, the emotion of love, there's another group of people that are talking about it's time for the planet to heal. The planet is being reset. They're feeling a sense of gratitude for what they have. There is a massive, massive spiritual awakening that is happening right now, where people are going through the difficult times, but it's forcing a wake up. It's forcing people to say, surely there has to be a better way, right? There's huge shifts that are happening in the work arena and in relationships as well. It's, people that are forced to be in the same space 24/7, whereas previously they could go out to work and come back and they had the space and then the togetherness and it was easier. But being in the same space all the time is not so great for some of the people, right? We know that our creativity right now is being expanded. Like we've got to find creative ways. Like for example, this Quantum Tribe meeting that we're having, right? I love it when we can all be in the same room together. The energy is so great, but we've had to find a creative way that we can still continue with our self-mastery journey, but doing it from our own homes. I think a lot of us are finding that we're kind of going back to our roots. We're remembering those things way back that was important, some of the things we used to do. I know I found a recipe book that I started 30 years ago. And it was so amazing to go and make some of the stuff from that book that I haven't done in years. So when you think of love, and like the planet healing and the spiritual awakening, what can you add to that? Is there some things that you are feeling that are very positive that are coming out this time? Julie says she's made her own bread. Dave says healing, yes. Community, super productive. Anita, great. Community, caring, blessing, back to basics from Kim, wonderful. Right? People are reaching out. Yes, that is so true. I think some of us, there's healing. Some of us have spoken to like family members that we haven't spoken to in a long time. But because we have more time on our hands, we tend to reach out to people, right? So that is wonderful. Unlimited time, planting vegetables at home, Mahendra, wonderful. Isn't that beautiful? Neighborliness like the old days. Yes, that is something we definitely lost. Renal is learning to cook. Sadhana says productivity, bonding with my cat, running in my yard. Okay, so we can see that as much as there is all of the fear that is going on, there's also other things happening that we can focus on. So our goal, the reason I'm saying it's such a pivotal moment in time is because the dominant energy is going to win. So where are we putting more of our time, focus, energy? If we are constantly listening to the news, following the death toll, and so how many people, how far has the pandemic spread now, and what's going to happen with our jobs and our income, and if we are constantly there, then we're living in that vibration of fear. Okay, and we're going to have to ask ourselves, what are we contributing to the field? So if you remember, right? Remember I said in the beginning, I'm going to show you this slide every single time we meet, because there is nothing more important than us focusing on our frequency. So if our frequency is on the downward spiral and we're feeling powerless, we're feeling angry, or we're feeling doubt, there's a lot of worry, frustration, we're feeling hopeless, then that is the downward spiral, and this is where our energy contracts. So when it contracts, it means that we're not actually getting any kind of support from the quantum field. On the top end, with the upward spiral, if we're feeling contentment or hopefulness, enthusiasm, maybe some passion, some eagerness, if we're feeling love, joy, freedom, those kind of emotions, now the field is expanding. And the purpose of the universe is expansion. So if you are in a space where you can expand your field outward, now your purpose is identical to the purpose of the universe, which means now you get all the support that you need. So when we look at this pivotal time, if we stay in these lower emotions for too much of the time, then everything that we fear will actually come about. We will manifest all of these things that we are most afraid of. Whereas if we are moving in the upward spiral, and I'm not saying we have to be there all of the time. It's really impossible. There are times when we're human beings, right? There's times when we are going to be a bit afraid. We're going to worry a bit. If there's no income coming in, then that fear, the worry is going to set in. But we don't have to set up camp there. We don't have to live there. Right? So today we're going to look specifically to see how we can move that vibration from this lower half to the top half. So we covered this in one of the sessions, the levels of consciousness. So let's look at right now, where are we in terms of our level of consciousness? The level 1 is, why is this happening to me? So anyone that's functioning on the level 1 right now is in absolute total fear. It's like, what's going to happen? Am I going to have a job? Am I going to be able to pay my rent or the bond? And, I'm just so scared all the time. So we feel that life is happening to us and we are powerless to do anything about it. Level 2, you'll find that right now there's people that are making things happen, right? The people that are making masks and selling, what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? These sprays and to clean your hands and stuff like that, the antibacterial stuff. So people that are doing things like this are starting brand new businesses. They're moving forward and they think, I'm going to make this happen. Somebody's giving me the word there. Sanitizers, that's the word I'm looking for. Thank you, Sadhana. Right? So anyone that's moving in that direction is making things happen. They believe the life is happening by me, right? So I'm either going to find new ways to work, like we're doing now with Quantum Tribe. There's a lot of coaches and people that are self-employed in our group that are working from home now and are doing Zoom calls with their clients and still doing the work remotely, right? But we don't want to stay there. We want a better way of of living and functioning. So when you look at level 3, which is what we're constantly striving to move towards, and when life is on an even keel, we don't really focus so much. It's kind of like there's no need. But when we're faced with the challenge, this is the time that really, really counts, because the level 3 is when we can get to the point and say, all right, I know that life is always happening for me. So how is this happening for me? That's the question we're going to ask. But more importantly, it's that life is happening through me. So when we get there, Dave says experiencing the beauty of life. So when we get to the through me, now we're getting to that point of that prayer from A Course in Miracles that says, dear God, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? And what would you have me say, and to whom? So now we are tapping into a higher power and allowing those answers to flow through us. Because right now, if we're in a place of uncertainty, if we are going to come up with all the answers ourselves, that's our level 2. But our conscious mind is limited. If you remember one of the earlier sessions where we spoke about the conscious and subconscious mind, the conscious being the 5% and the subconscious being the 95%. So are we going to take a dive into this 95%? Are we going to connect with the power that is so much greater? So we may have 3 or 4 solutions to a particular problem. Divine intelligence has 1,000 solutions to that problem. It will have the best possible solutions in the shortest possible time with the best outcome. So our question is now, do we want to stay on the level 2? Or do we want to also step into level 3 consciousness, where we are now starting to connect and ask for the guidance, ask for the blessings to come, ask for the solutions to come? What is my next step? Am I meant to change directions now? So we asking the questions in terms of our relationships, where we live, the work that we're doing, the kind of communication we're having, how we bring in our income. We're asking the questions now. This is what living consciously is about, where we not waiting for things to happen and then just react to it. We're part of what is happening right now. If you look at this crisis that we're in, it is a global consciousness that has created this. So the question is, right now moving forward, the global consciousness is fear on the one side, love on the other side. Which way are we going to go? Because if we give in to the fear and the worry and the doubt and the hopelessness, then we are moving with the current global consciousness, the current masses. And for the shift to happen, we only need 1%. We need 1% of the world's population to focus on what we can create from here going forward. We need 1% of the world's population to move on to level 3 consciousness for the shift to happen globally, right? So that I think is really interesting, that we don't have to change every person on the planet. So let's do this as an exercise right now. Because we want to shift it, right? So whatever it is that is causing us fear right now, or irritation or anger, or causing us to feel insecure or doubtful or hopeless or powerless, I want you to make a list of those things now, and then we're going to do an exercise to shift this from the downward spiral into the upward spiral. So I'm going to give you like 2 minutes or so. Just jot down, list all of those things that you feel are causing you these emotions. And as you complete your list, if you can just type into the chat, just one or two things from your list that you'd like to shift. Okay, so we've got finances, economy, crime, monetary system, limited travel. We can't make plans for a holiday or any other future plans. The fear of lack of control due to COVID-19, out of my control, yes. Government response to pandemic, yes. We are being lied to about the virus. Fantastic, Julie. I'm glad I'm not the only one, and Kim as well. Must be thinking I'm glad I'm not the only one. Okay, missing out on key milestones in my little nephew's life. Yes, walking, talking now. Yes. So we can't be personally present for those wonderful things. Hey, uncertainty as to when it will end. A lot of opinions that are influenced by fear. Yes. Impact on schools and universities. Okay, unpaid bond, loans, credit cards. Okay, inundated by the media, yes. Staff retrenchments. Okay, great. All right, so now let's go into and we're going to go into an exercise as to how we can actually start dealing with this. So if we want to make changes, right, my question is, if not now, when? Because when times are good, we enjoy that. It's too wonderful. So at that time, we're not really learning, we're not really growing, we're not really evolving. We're just enjoying when times are good. When times are challenging, like right now, we are forced to rise up. It's almost like becoming diamonds, you know, in the Earth's core. When there's a tremendous amount of heat and pressure, then the carbon atoms kind of are pushed together and become diamonds. So when we look at it like that, the challenging times is the time when we have to really dig deep to find out, who am I? That is our time to rise up. We are Quantum Tribe. We are here to grow, to evolve, to expand. Defeat is not an option, right? It is time to pivot. It's time for us to let that light shine. So the question is, how will you show up? What's your vision of your future? So let's take an example and see how we're going to pivot. So the example I'm going to use, and then we're going to take two examples from what you've given us on the list. The first one is reduced income. That is affecting a lot of the population, right? So immediately that the president announced we're going into this lockdown, for me personally, my income went to almost zero, right? So the emotions that would come up from starting to feel that is immediate fear, anxiety, insecurity, all of this will come up. And we should never try to suppress those emotions immediately. Like I said, we're not going to live there, but we're human beings and we will feel this. So whatever you resist will persist. So we're not going to resist these emotions. We're going to be vulnerable enough to say, right now, I'm feeling fear. Right now, I'm really anxious, or I'm stressed out, or I don't know what's going to happen next, right? So then when we look at the emotional scale, fear will be all the way at the bottom of the scale. So we've got to say, okay, what is one step up from here? And even though anger and irritation are still negative emotions, the frequency is higher than the frequency of fear, right? So you'd rather feel anger than fear. The energy is higher with anger. So the anger came when I started realizing that there were doctors coming forth now saying that the numbers are not right because they are instructed to put down COVID-19 as cause of death, regardless of what the patient died of. So people were dying of cancer, of heart attacks. There was a lady in hospice that had Alzheimer's for a while, and then she was dying anyway. And all of them had COVID-19 as cause of death. So when I looked at that, now if all of you that know me, you know I'm a researcher, right? So immediately I want to go and research this and find out, is this true? What is really going on? And you start asking the questions, okay, so who's actually going to benefit from this? Why are these figures being inflated in this way? And then I came across, you know, people like Dr. Rashid Buttar, Brian Rose from London Real, David Icke, and started listening to all of this and the agenda of Bill Gates to vaccinate everybody on the planet with this and put in microchips and all of that. And I was really angry because it's taking away your personal freedom, your choice, you're being lied to. So the anger was a better emotion than the fear. Okay, so it's one step up. Then what comes after that? So I look at it and I say, what can I do about this now? So I'm not an activist. So let the Brian Roses of the world, let the Rashid Buttars of the world do what they're doing to expose the truth, right? They're doing a fantastic job. Let them do that. What can I do? So the next step is acceptance. So you can see now the frequency is going from fear, which is bottom of the scale, moving up into anger, moving up into acceptance. So when I go to acceptance, I'm saying it is what it is. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying it is what it is. Okay? And then I'm saying there must be a way. There must be a way for me to create my income. Right? So I start exploring what can I do? And now I step into my creativity because I've got to come up with creative ways of doing this. And this is where you're working on level 2 and level 3, right? So on the level 2 is where you're making your plans and your lists and you're coming up with solutions on your own. But when you step into the level 3 and then you start saying, okay, higher power, divine power, help me. What can I do? What is my next step? Guide me with this. So when we start doing that, we'll get those little inclinations, those ideas out of the blue that come to you. And then you know, now I'm being guided. Right? So then I took a workshop that I had, like the money workshop. I was going to do that live. And I said, let me see how I can divide this workshop. So I divided it over 3 one-hour sessions over 3 days. And then did the workshop on Zoom. I looked at it and I said, is it worth my while now to upgrade and become a paid member of Zoom? Yes, it was worth my while to do it. So I took that step and I did that. So that is now the action step. So you can see now the levels and how it's moving up, right? Fear at the bottom, moving up to anger, moving into acceptance, moving up creativity, starting to get a little bit excited, finding new ways. and then taking action. So when you take action and you get a positive outcome from that, now you're feeling a little bit more hopeful, empowered. You're saying, this actually worked really well. I got some very positive feedback from the people that attended the workshop. So we still could chat with each other. We could ask questions and have our discussions. We could do all of that. So now I'm saying, oh, this could actually work. This is a new way of doing this. So when you get to that point, now you're on the upward spiral of the emotional scale, which will spark then another idea. And so now you're playing on the top there. It's like the creativity, more action, feeling even more hopeful, even more empowered, more creativity, more action, more empowered, right? So look at that and see how we go from the bottom of the scale. We're not going from fear to love in one step. It's not going to be possible to do that, right? Because when you're in a space of fear, you can't say, all is great, I'm fantastic, life is wonderful. We can't do that in one step. We do that step by step by step, we move up. So let's take some of the other ones that we've had in the chat, and we'll use 2 more examples from there, right? Uncertainty, low sales revenue, minus more an irritation with the non-ideal client approaching me, impacts from the ground up, staff retrenchments, uncertainty as to when it will end, impact on schools and universities, inundated by the media. Let's just take this one, the inundated by the media, right? Because I think there again, it's all of us. So the example is we are being inundated by the media. We are basically being told how to think, what to do. We're being lied to about what's going on, and we don't have a choice in the matter. That's what's being sent out to us. So then let's use this as an example, and I'd like you to come in, even if you have to unmute yourself and speak. It would be wonderful to have that happen now. What emotions come up when you think about the false information coming at us from the media? What emotions come up? You can either type in the chat or you can unmute yourself and speak.
Cass, my emotions have changed. Okay, I don't know. This is a negative, but I expected that anyway. You know, I expected that we were going to be lied to. I knew, for me, there was something up right from the beginning. So, am I making sense? So it didn't hit me hard when I knew, or when I think I knew, that we were being lied to. At least things are not as they seem. A bit of irritation, especially when I think of certain people. But there's almost a power in it, because you know what it is, and I'm not going to be duped. You can come at me with whatever, but I'm not going to be duped. Okay. So I feel okay, if that makes any sense.
Okay, so the first emotion would have been maybe a bit of disbelief, because we don't lied to, you know,
irritation again. You know, like almost it's I know it's happening, but it's almost just too ridiculous to, like, why would anyone do that? Why would people want to do that kind of thing?
So then the irritation would be the starting emotion, right? The irritation, the disbelief.
Yes.
You know, why do we live in a world where people need to control other people, right? All that is irritation. So we can move that up very quickly into acceptance. That's what you're saying. You moved it very quickly into acceptance. It is what it is, right? I'm aware of it, so I don't need to react to it. I am irritated.
Yes.
Accept that this is what it is, and I don't need to make it my reality. So that's immediately stepping up from the irritation into acceptance.
Yes.
Right? So then the next step is going to be, so how do I control this for me? What happens next? So now we're saying, okay, so I'm just not going to listen to the news. I'm not going to read all these articles and listen to the interviews that are all kind of like feeding the fear. So I'm going to move. So you're making a personal decision for yourself that I'm going to move away from that. And then what do you explore instead? Like what do you spend your time, or where do you put your focus instead of that?
On all the things that I love doing. So, all the, the house, the doggies, the business, I feel very excited and creative about the business. So it's very weird because it's almost like you're living in two worlds. I know that that's happening out there, and I will do whatever I need to comply to a certain point and be safe. Okay.
So
and
that is now
not bring undue attention to me. And then in my own world, I do what I do.
Yes. Now that is the perfect example of a new earth. If you look at, I don't know how many of you have actually read the book A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle a few years ago that he had written. And he was talking about creating this new earth. And the description of a new earth is our description of living on the highest frequencies, right? A space where there is love, there is caring, there is everybody benefits in this world. So we can actually start stepping into that world while this old world is still alive and kicking. Right? But it is a choice that we make. This is why I say it is time for us to pivot. And we're at this point in time where we have to make this decision. We can either buy into everything that we're hearing, or we can make the choice to create a life for ourselves that's very different from what we're hearing. So we're saying, I'm stepping away from the mass thinking. I'm stepping out of the global consciousness. In other words, I want to be a part of the 1% that's going to tip the consciousness in the direction of love. Right? And the creative part of it comes in terms of what you choose to read now, the kinds of videos you choose to watch now. Right? All of that starts to shift. The kinds of conversations you have and who are the people that you choose to spend more of your time with, all of that starts shifting. And then the action part comes when we take these ideas and bring it into our homes, into our businesses, into whatever work we're doing to earn a living. We're bringing that energy into that. So it's a creative energy that is taking us higher and higher up the frequency so that we're reaching those levels of hopefulness and excitement and enthusiasm. We have something to look forward to because the world is going to be different. We know that. But how is it going to be different? For the masses that are buying into the fear, it's going to be struggle and we're going to lose everything we have. That is one reality. But we all know that there is a completely different reality. And if we're living consciously, we can actually create this new reality, this new earth. And it is a choice of ours to do that. Right? So now we're moving. When we start moving our mind in that direction, that's our level 2. And when we start asking for the help and connecting with a higher power and allowing new ideas to come to us, that is us functioning on a level 3 consciousness. Right? So even in the midst of all of this, we can move towards that level 3 consciousness. Our personal development, our self-mastery does not stop now. It is accelerated in this time. It's giving us an opportunity to fast track towards where we want to go. So more than ever now, we need to focus on what it is we want and the life that we want to create for ourselves in the future. All right? Is everybody okay with that? Yes?
Cass, can I share an example?
Yes, please, Sadhana.
Okay, so I think you all remember my Goodbye Barbara example, right?
Yes.
So a crazy thing happened where, so just quickly, this was the boss from hell that actually I said every day, goodbye Barbara, so that, you know, she would actually leave my life. And what happened was she actually received an assignment at a different location, and eventually she was, she was going to be moving out. And what happened thereafter was that whole thing fell through, and she was going to stay. So this was quite devastating for the entire department. But I don't know what has shifted. We have established the most incredible relationship since that announcement. I feel like then, I don't know, it's like I cannot even recognize who she was before this and who I was before this. So we have reached a place of incredible respect, trust, and healing, which was, I never thought would be possible. But that has actually manifested in this period now. So over the last 4 to 6 weeks, that's what has happened. So unbelievable, the kind of miracles and changes that can actually happen when you just allow them to. So I just accepted the situation and surrendered, and this began to happen on its own.
Okay. I think that's such a wonderful example, Sadhana, because what it means is that you chose to maintain your frequency. So whenever we maintain our frequency on a higher level, what happens then is we're drawing the people around us, we're inviting them to come and meet us at that frequency. And I'm going to show you on the last slide why that happened, right? It's just such a beautiful example. So thank you for sharing that with us. Anybody else?
Sorry, Cass, Sadhana, I think that's absolutely amazing. And what the first thing that I thought of, Cass, you can give more input, please, is, you know, you actually did say goodbye to Barbara because the old Barbara has gone. It's
Absolutely.
almost like she got a wake-up call. So, and then something shifted, you know. But it's interesting because when we say goodbye, we have a certain idea of what goodbye means. You know, we didn't think it would be goodbye to the old personality of Barbara, which it sounds like it's happened, which is absolutely phenomenal. So once again, our words are so powerful. Like when we use our words, we must maybe think about what this word could actually mean. But that's fantastic. That is amazing.
No, it is. It wasn't literal. It is, as you said, it was the new Barbara that needed to come through. That was, and today's actually her birthday, funny enough. So,
that's amazing.
Yeah. And that's, you see, there again is the example of the awakening that is happening right now. So we must expect to see more and more people begin to awaken right now. There was something in what happened with her going and then her staying that shifted her internally. So we start asking, you know, what's important and also what's not important anymore. And, you know, that I think that was a wonderful shift. Hey, beautiful. Okay. Right. So on level 3, we're asking ourselves, how is this serving me? I want you to actually think about this one and write some comments on it in the chat, right? How is this time right now serving you? How are you going to emerge from this better than ever before? Because it has happened. I know for a lot of us there, we have more time to self-reflect, right? Whereas before, lives are so busy, it's so stressful that we don't really have that time to go within, to really know ourselves and allow that authentic self to come forward. So now's the time for us to ask those questions. What is really, really important to me? And also, what is no longer important to me? Before the lockdown, what are the things that I was spending a lot of time and energy on? And now I look at it and I feel it's irrelevant. It's not that important anymore. So whether it's a petty dispute with somebody, or if it is, a habit that you've had, or certain people that you were spending a lot of time with, and now you start to realize, but it was one way and I wasn't getting anything out of those relationships. So what is no longer important to you that was important before we went into this lockdown? We cannot change the circumstances, but we can change the meaning we give to it. So we can't change the lockdown, maybe. We can't change the restrictions that we have, where we can go, the times we can do that. We may not be able to change that right now, but we can change the meaning we give to it. Because instead of saying, it's a lockdown and we restricted and we can't do this, let's turn that around and look at what we can do. What is it giving us that we didn't have before? And most importantly, I want to ask you, what story will you tell your grandchildren, let's say 20 years from now? So 20 years from now, you're telling the story, you're saying, in the year 2020, there was this pandemic and we all had to stay in our houses and we couldn't go to work. And what story are you going to be telling them? Are you going to tell the story of how you lost everything and how bad things were and the struggle and how long it took to recover? Or are you going to tell the story of, we did a total pivot, and maybe I changed my job, and maybe we moved to another place, or maybe I realized certain things that took my life to the next level? What is the story that you're going to actually tell? Okay, I'm just going to go back and read the chat while you're doing that. So Reynolds says he did the Mind Power course and dedicated time to doing the exercises. What is no longer important is lack thinking. Oh, I like that. Using time to reflect and relook at my life. Replan goals and milestones. Yes, getting back to basics and doing simple things at home, things that I've not done in the last few years. And by doing this, I realized that my happiness depended on me and not anyone else. Isn't that a fantastic, fantastic learning? That my happiness depends on me and not anyone else. Julie says, I would tell them how media hyped up a pandemic of flu. Taking time to work on myself. Life is short, has new meaning. Realized how little material things we need. Look for new opportunities. Not really lockdown for me. It is time to breathe the luxury of self-time. Isn't that wonderful? The luxury of self-time. Okay, that is wonderful. So isn't it beautiful when we can move into a level 3 consciousness by asking the question, how is this happening for me? How is this serving me? And actually coming up with loads and loads of answers to that question, right? So the more often we ask that question, how is this happening for me? How is it serving me? That is us living on a level 3 consciousness. Okay, and again, that is a choice that we make. Okay, let's talk about spiritual connection, because the level 3 is a spiritual connection, right? So when we talk about the quantum field, we know that this is a field of energy that surrounds us all. It is all powerful, all knowing, ever present. Anything that you could possibly want to create, the field just simply creates it instantly, and all you have to do is line up or increase your vibration to that level, and it will manifest in your being, right? So right now, are we plugged into that field? Think about the field like electricity. So you have a kettle and you want to boil some water. You can't boil the water unless you plug into the electricity, right? We can't have the light unless you flick the light switch. So the field is there, it's present, it's always supporting us, giving to us, loving us, blessing us, all of that. But are we plugged into the field? Right? So my question to you is, what are you doing on a daily basis to connect with the divine? So Kim is saying, I have realized how tightly we are stretched. I want to leave that behind. Oh, yes. Yeah, I think we all kind of like looking at those things that we can let go of, right? So yes, I want to know, what are you doing on a daily basis to connect with the divine? And if you are religious, that could include prayer. If you're more spiritual, it could be meditating for 20 minutes. And meditation takes many different forms. You could go for a walk for 20 minutes now that we're allowed to do that. We could work in the garden for 20 minutes. You could, for me, cooking is sometimes very meditative, where I could really like look at the colors that I'm putting in, the spices, the aroma, and get lost in that process. And that becomes a kind of meditation, right? Or just simply sitting quietly and connecting with the divine. So are we doing that? Let me just check the chat. Lots of meditation, meditating every day, enjoying the silence when I wake up at 4 a.m. every morning. So there seems to be lots of meditation happening. I like that, right? Really wonderful. Dr. Michael Beckwith, he says, you cannot have what you are not willing to become in consciousness. So becoming something in consciousness is very much like last month when we created a persona for ourselves, right? So the persona is the consciousness. We become that first within ourselves, and then we experience it outwardly in our reality. But it is the inner work that needs to be done first, the consciousness. We have to match what we want on a frequency level. As soon as what we want matches the frequency, it must come into your reality. Because you can only attract what is the same frequency. You can't be in a place of fear or anger and expect to attract love or a promotion or massive abundance into your life. You have to vibrate at the frequency of that love, of that promotion, or of that abundance. Once you have the consciousness of abundance within you, abundance must come to you. When you have the consciousness of love within you, love must come to you. And I think these are the two most important questions tonight. The one is, what in me is trying to emerge? Because life is never going to be the same again. And a lot of people are saying, I can't wait to go back to normal. But what is normal? What is normal anymore? It's never going to be the same again. And I don't even want it to be the same again, because here we have an opportunity to create a whole new world. What new world is trying to emerge right now? We don't want to go back to that old way where we're being lied to and controlled. We don't want to go back to that. What new world is trying to emerge right now? Right? And I firmly believe that this pivotal point that I'm talking about, this pandemic needed to happen the way it is happening right now. Everything is exactly as it should be, because we needed to see the evil on the one hand. We needed to see it. It needs to be exposed. It needs to be brought into the light. And on the other hand, we have the healing that is taking place personally on the planetary level. The healing is taking place. That is needed. We're going to have this massive awakening happening because people can see the evil and the destruction on one side, and they're going to want to gravitate to its opposite. So this is a time for a whole new world to emerge. So what will your role be in this emergence of a new world and a new you? What is your role going to be? I'd like to hear from you. So if you can put something in the chat about that. A brighter outlook on life, becoming more of an opportunist. Yes, thank you, Reno. What in you is trying to emerge? Because there is you as you were, there's you as you are right now, and you can already see changes and shifts have happened in the last 6 or 7 weeks, right? And what's the next step? Because there is a potential within each one of us that wants to emerge right now. Julie says, calmer, stronger, being more sure of myself. Sadhana says, healing gifts. I really, really like that one. Lynette says, would love to nurture the good habits created during lockdown, like spending quality time, connecting and serving. How beautiful is that? Thank you, Lynette. Right? We will be called to be of service. Living in the moment, new world. Business and new next level and choosing up my life, more of what I
Sorry, I don't know how else to write that word, Casp. I don't know if it's a real word, but it just means juicing up. So like,
oh, I was wondering what is this
next level.
Okay, and I like no apologies. I absolutely love that. It's being you, 100% you, without apology. Beautiful. I absolutely love that. Dave is saying the monetary system will change and we can take advantage on the new money, which will eliminate the financial concerns. Absolutely. This is time for that. You know, I don't know how many of you believe in like cryptocurrencies and things, but there has to be a new monetary system where we are not being controlled to that degree, right? And that would be a nice conversation to have as well. Quality time with family and people that matter most, living life as we want, absolute freedom. I love that word freedom. Hey, it's one of my favorite words. Reno says more home-cooked meals instead of takeout, which means a healthier me. Quality time, yes, absolutely. So we can see already we're in the process of these shifts happen. And what I can see for every single person in Quantum Tribe is your light shining brighter. Like Kim said, with no apologies, right? This is me, authentically me, and being unafraid of being that powerful and being that magnificent. It is time, people. Sadhana says, letting go of people and situations, and inevitably letting go of suffering. Isn't that amazing? So when we step out of suffering, we're stepping into love. We're stepping into those higher frequencies, right? Our lights shining brighter, yes. And a whole lot more fun too. Yes, I love that, Kim. Thank you for adding that one. Yes, a whole lot fun. Because I think we forget sometimes, hey, the old world that we lived in, we had a lot of stress. We were pushing ourselves, we were running around in circles. You know, it was like, sometimes I felt I was on a treadmill. Like I'm really, really running and not getting anywhere. So it is time now for us to stop and reflect and put our time and energy into creating that new world for ourselves. Appreciating relationships with people, learning to reconnect. Lynette said, realize most people are only one paycheck away from being broke. Yeah, that is true, isn't it? And I think we are going to be called upon right now to show people a different way. Because everyone that is buying into the fear is going to need a helping hand as they begin to awaken. And if you've already awakened and you're already living consciously, they're going to look at you now to say, how are you doing this? How are you so happy in the midst of all of this? Right? How are you thriving in the midst of all of this? So you're going to become a way shower going forward from here. Right. Absolutely great. Thank you, everybody, for sharing all of that. That is amazing. Okay. So, Sadhana, remember I said I was going to show you on the slide the frequency. When you maintained your frequency, this lady Barbara had no choice but to come up and match that frequency, right? So the frequency of love is 500. If we look at the emotional scale, so when we've got emotions like guilt and blame right at the bottom of the scale, which is about 20 hertz on the scale, right? And we can see up on the top, we've got love, which is 500 hertz. Joy, enlightenment, peace are higher than that. But let's look at that frequency of 500. If we can feel the emotion of love more and more in our lives, that means it doesn't matter who the person is that's in your life, love them. It doesn't matter the circumstances, can you just love that? Can you just love what is? Can you love yourself, who you are? The more time we can spend feeling that emotion of love, we are moving our frequency to that level. And one person that vibrates at the frequency of 500 influences 750,000 people at a lower vibration. So can you see why I'm saying you are going to be called? All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a small breathing exercise where we're going to go into the heart space, and I'm going to show you an exercise. It's actually from the Heart Math Institute, where we can bring our hearts into a state of coherence. Right? So when we're feeling the heart coherence, we're increasing our frequency. And we want to be able to increase the frequency to 500 plus. Okay? It doesn't mean we're going to stay there all of the time. Yes, somebody will irritate you and something will make you angry. So the frequency will drop. But when we do this exercise again, we increase the frequency. So when it drops, we increase it. If we keep doing that, we spend more and more time at the frequency of 500, that frequency will become your new normal, right? So right now, the frequency of humanity is around 220. Okay, so it's slightly on the negative side. I think with a pandemic like this, the frequency would drop drastically because there's a lot of fear in the world. So if you can just relax, close your eyes, uncross your arms and legs, and just take a deep breath. And on the out breath, just relax. Feel a warm sense of relaxation starting at the top of your head, and just relax all the muscles there. And let this relaxation move down into your jaw. Just notice if there's any tightness there and let it go. Keep breathing deeply in and out and feel that relaxation move into your neck and shoulders. Just relaxing more and more. And down your arms, right down to your fingertips. Breathe deeply into the chest area, and on the out breath, just let go. Let this relaxation move further down into your stomach, over your hips, into your thighs, through your knees, moving all the way down through your ankles and into your feet. Just feeling beautifully relaxed. I want you to see yourself as though you're surrounded by a warm cloud, just so comfy and feeling so at ease and so supported. We're going to focus our attention on the chest area, on the heart center. You can put your hands over your heart. And as you breathe deeply in, feel that you are breathing into your heart. So when you breathe in, you're receiving love. And when you breathe out, you are sending love out into the world. So breathe in love and send out love. And with each in-breath, I want you to see a light in your heart center, a pink light. And with each in-breath, as you're breathing in love, that light gets stronger and brighter. So breathe in love, the light expands, and send out love, the light expands. Breathe in love, and the light expands, filling your entire body, every cell in your body. And when you breathe out, you're sending love, which further expands to fill the whole room. Breathe in love and send out love. Breathe in love. And when you send out love, it's now filling the entire building. Breathe in love again. The light is getting brighter and brighter. Send out love, and it's filling the entire city. Breathe in love. The light is getting brighter and brighter. Send out love, and it fills the entire province. Breathe in love. Send out love to fill the entire country. Breathe in love and send out love, and it fills the entire world. Just feel this vibration of love. You are so loved. You are so blessed. You are so special. Just enjoy this frequency of love. And in your mind, I want you to say, I am love. I am love. I am love. And Just slowly bring your attention back to the room on the chair that you're sitting in. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. I'd like you to please share your experience of this exercise. You can unmute yourself and just tell us what you felt, or if there's any visions that you saw, or any colors that you experienced. Norman says, love is the new frequency.
I just felt very relaxed and calm.
Yes. Could you feel your heart, the energy there expanding?
Yeah, definitely.
That's what we want to feel, right? We want to feel the heart center expanding. And the more that we can do this exercise, and it's just breathing, it's breathing in love, sending out love, breathing in love, sending out love. The more that we can do this, the more we raise our frequency to that 500. Right? So each time it drops, we raise it to the 500. This is the fastest way for you to move up the emotional scale. Fastest way. All right? Everybody else is very quiet. All awake.
So Cass, I just felt prickles on my skin pretty much everywhere. So yeah, that's what I experienced. Like those, yeah, like pinpricks.
Ah, beautiful. That is energy moving. So whenever energy is moving, you feel it. And a lot of the time, you'll feel it most easily on your palms. If you're feeling it like that, like goosebumps, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Julie says, I loved sharing the love to the world. In the moment, time stood still. Beautiful, right? So, guys, this is the easiest way for us to make an impact. So I asked you, what role will you play in this new world that is emerging? When we do an exercise like this and we're sending out that energy, that frequency into the world, we are impacting hundreds of thousands of people as we do this. Like I said, the frequency of one person at 500 is influencing 750,000 people. So that means if 10 of us in this group are doing an exercise like this, we're impacting 7.5 million people while we do that, right? So this is our way of making our impact. All right, so the practice for this month is going to be, we're going to constantly be asking ourselves, where am I on the emotional scale? So if we're moving into those lower frequencies, those lower emotions like the fear, the blame, the anger, the irritation, all of that, we're going to take the steps, move up the steps, right? What's the next emotion I can move to from here? What's the next one? How do I get to acceptance? How do I get curious? How do I get creative? How do I act? How do I step it up? So we're going to step up the scale. So wherever we find ourselves, can I step it up and move into the expanded higher part of the emotional scale? The next exercise we're going to do is we're going to connect to the divine in whatever way you choose to do that, right? Whether it's meditation, whether it's prayer, but connect with the divine and ask for guidance. Ask for answers, because we don't want to do it purely on a level 2 where life is happening by us. We want to move to the level 3 where life is happening through us. Are we able to allow the divine to express through us? So where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say, and to whom? This is life happening through us. And then the last exercise that we did, the heart coherence breathing, you can shift your energy in 2 minutes doing that exercise. 2 minutes. So it doesn't matter where you are, even if you're at work at the moment, you can go to the bathroom for 2 minutes and just breathe and do this and shift your energy, and know that you are shifting the energy of everybody in your space when you do that. everybody in your community, your city, your country, you are shifting the energy as we do this. All right. Any questions, comments that you have about today's session? Dave says healing from within, healing the country and healing the world. Yes. Vivid colors like pink, purple, and white, feeling peace and contentment. Thank you, Shalini. Oh, that is so lovely. And those are the colors. Say the heart colors are the pink, especially is the heart color. Reno said he saw pink. Yes. Right. Beautiful. Okay. If there's no more comments or questions, we can end the meeting then. My cloud was pink. Oh yes, the cloud was pink. Nice cushy pillow, hey. Pink cloud. All right, so thank you so much everyone for being on the call tonight and doing your part in raising the consciousness. And like I said, you will be called more and more, and it's time for us to step up and show up. All right, good night everybody.